Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. KGB Customs, what I believe to be the best channel out there on the web for sharing cool custom handguns and the occasional custom rifle. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys following along. If you would, before we get into the gun, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and check out our other videos. I'm working on getting playlists together for like guns to be grouped so that you don't have to sift through all 100 videos to find the 2 or 3 things that interest you. Today's gun, out of my personal collection, a very neat vintage piece. This one built on a first generation Colt single action army, built by Dean King, D.W. King gun sight. One of the very first custom shops that really was improving not only revolvers but semi-automatic handguns. Famed for their sight upgrades, which you see on this gun, as well as their ventilated ribs that the Super Targets. The Super Target was certainly the inspiration for the Colt Python, which is arguably one of the most famed revolvers of the mid-century and latter half of the last century. Back to this gun. This gun left Hartford, left Colt in 1937. In 1937, Colt only produced about 700 single action armies, which isn't a lot, but let's think about the time. 1937, we had the advent of all kinds of semi-automatic handguns. Certainly, double action handguns were fairly prolific by then. We had the Smith & Wesson registered magnums. We had the 44 caliber hand ejectors. So we had all kinds of end frame revolvers. We had the Colt New Services and Shooting Masters, officers models, as well as the 1911 pistol, of course, 1911A1 by that point. So the single action army was certainly waning in popularity at that point. For user pieces. The total production from, also 1937, we're talking about the tail end of the Great Depression. So an expensive gun like a Colt single action army would not have been on every hardware store shelf at that time. Throughout the entirety of the Great Depression, Colt, up through the beginning of our involvement in World War II, and Colt ceasing civilian sales of guns to aid in the war effort, Colt only produced about 5,000 single action armies from 29 to say 41, which is peanuts when you consider they were producing that many 1911s for the war effort in about a week's time. So very low production on these guns. So I looked for a long time. I have another King single action army that I'll probably share with you guys later. I'm probably going to do a little revolver kick. I've got a couple custom double action revolvers coming in that I hope to have recorded over the weekend and to share with you guys. So this gun is a 45 caliber, 4 3/4 inch barrel, which is kind of unique in this too. I see certainly more King's modified long barrel target revolvers than I do the short barreled versions. This one has a wide outline King's adjustable rear sight inletted in the top of the receiver there, as you would expect. King's did also install the Smith & Wesson pre-war adjustable sight off like the Outdoorsman and the Target hand ejectors and the registered magnums would have had them. The early Smith & Wesson adjustable sights, you'll sometimes see those on King modified guns, but this is token King here, and they're a bigger sight, and to my eye at least give a better sight picture than the Smith & Wesson version. The Smith & Wesson version you'll see more on fighting guns because they were lower profile, smaller sights. The front sight is a King base These are attached by pinning through the original front sight, and the blade is then held in with a very tiny screw. The unique thing about the King's front sight base is the reflector, of course. They have a tiny mirror in there that is inset at an angle to reflect light up onto the face of the sight. King's offered all manner of front sights, this one just being a standard Patridge black front blade. The other ones you see a lot are a red face. They have a red, some manner of polymer attached to the face, which eventually, of course, turned into the red ramp front sight. I've also seen them with call beads, McGivern beads, so like a gold bead. And I've seen them with undercut target sights, and even with more of a Bauman style ramp, which, you know, you wouldn't think that this mirror would get much light on a Bauman style ramp, but the mirrors on those Bauman ramp guns are usually a little steeper, and it's mostly a gimmick, let's be frank. But yeah, it was a cool thing, and it was a selling point for these guys in the day, certainly, and is a sign of the times, you know. Then the King's custom base is serrated to reduce glare, as is the front blade. This gun also has some wonderful pre-war. These are factory grips. Colt offered these grips for special guns or special order. They're just nice walnut grips with a beautiful bordered checkering pattern. It's bordered all the way around. The checkering doesn't run off the grips at any point. Diamond in the middle, and then these insets here. Deep dish medallions in there, and of course the other side is the same. These are a flatter bottom grip than the factory polymer offering, which I think fills the hand nicer, and they look great on this gun too. The other main feature modification done by King's on a lot of revolvers, not just single action armies, is their short action conversion, which reconfigures the whole action to have a shorter throw, so the hammer doesn't cock back as far, and thus doesn't have to fall as far when firing the gun. If you guys will hang in for just a second, I'm going to get up and grab a standard single action army and show you the comparison there. This is also kind of a neat gun. I've thought about sharing it with you guys, but it's not really that custom. We'll talk about it since it's here on the screen though. But when you draw the hammer back on a single action army, you see that hammer lays clear back against the top strap of the grip frame. Notice there's almost no room here, and a good 1/4 of an inch at the root of the hammer there, which leads to faster lock time. The gun can be cocked faster. The King's folks would also offer a lowered hammer spur, which my other King's gun has. I'll get that out and show it to you in a video before too long. But this gun is a 2nd generation 44 special, also a 4 3/4 inch gun. Anyone who's really super tuned in to Colt single actions will say, well, Carl, they never made a 4 3/4 inch 44 special 2nd generation, and you'd be right, they didn't. It wasn't a standard factory barrel length offered on the 44 special at the time. So this one has been shortened, and this gun I bought out in New Mexico. It's got a brand on the back of the grip strap there, SLO or SOL or something. Anyway, just a neat old 44 special. Got some mountain sheep or rams grips on it, one-piece arrangement, and the grips have the gun serial number and that brand on the inside as well. A lightly customized single action army, one I sure like to look at and play with. It's one I've kept on my bench for a leisure shooter here over the past year or so that I've had it. Enough about that gun. Back to the King's gun. One thing that is certainly discussed a lot in Colt single action armies, especially those in .45 caliber, is getting them to shoot well. And that's not this gun is not immune to that. Colt, for whatever reason, started. I believe it started when nitro powders came on the scene. So this gun is, being a 37, has the verified proof. It was tested for nitro powders, smokeless powders. So the throats are big. How big, you might ask? Well, ideally, we'd probably want them to be around 453, 452. There's a 453 pin. Falls right in there. Here's a 454 pin. It's a little snugger. 455 pin, still falling in there. 456 pin, there we go. So yeah, this gun has 456 throats on it, which isn't really ideal for shooting bullets, cast bullets that are coming out of the box at 452. So the lead bullet problem is a known problem with .45 calibers. I did manage to get my hands on some 454 sized Hornady bullets, which I'm looking forward to trying. And there's an outfit I've contacted that'll size me some 455 sized bullets as well. It's one of the reasons that .45 single actions are maybe my second choice after the .44 Special. I really enjoy the .44 Special quite a bit, and the throats are very consistent within a thousandth or two of bullet diameter on Colt single action armies. And after reading a lot of Elmer Keith, I can tell you that the man has a point about the accuracy potential of the .44 Special and the knockdown power of that cartridge. It also leaves you a little bit more meat in the cylinder walls, so you can crank those up a little bit higher pressure than you can get away with in the .45. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and tune into our other videos too. We've got a pretty good library now of custom handgun videos and some custom rifle videos. Anyway, thanks you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.